Yo, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So, of course, we know that Bryce Mitchell just went on the Jaxxon podcast with Bear and Rampage Jaxxon, and we're gonna go ahead and react to this clip because I think it's pretty interesting, and I want to know what you guys think about this clip. This clip is 3 minutes and 34 seconds long, so bear with me. We're gonna go ahead and react to this clip, and right when it's done, I want you guys to write down your takes down in the comment section below because I think that this particular incident that happened in the Jaxxon podcast is giving me a sour taste, if I'm being completely honest, man. But let's go ahead and react to this clip right now.
The severity of it. I wish I didn't have to talk about it at all, but I feel like the severity of it being this is the first time I've shown my face since I said it. I do want to talk about it. First things first, I said word for word, I do not support, I am not a Nazi. I said it word for word. You can go back and watch it. And
people just clipped up some of the stuff.
I said was a good guy. And then I said, after that, I said before he committed all the atrocities, but they didn't play the whole podcast. Okay, so I did say he was a good guy, but I was saying before he committed all the atrocities.
Brother, you don't know him, right? You don't know the severity of what he did to the world. Obviously, I could tell you don't know for you to be able to even relaxedly say that word, that he was a good guy. And I'm not even gonna give him the benefit of saying his name, but those extremist ideologies, the things he did to, millions of people are some of the most disgusting, most evil things the world ever seen. Now, we're not going to give you a platform today to talk about anything that even remotely supports that.
No,
we're not going to give you a platform
I don't want
to justify what you said. And matter of fact, and me and Rampage talked about this.
Look, this is the part of the clip where I kind of like disagree with Bear. Like, I don't understand what was the point of inviting Bryce Mitchell to the podcast if they couldn't have a conversation about it. Like, of course, like Bryce Mitchell isn't gonna go on their podcast and say some wild like stuff on their podcast because they got freaking obviously Bear there and they got like Rampage Jaxxon there, like a guy that's respected in the sport. And I don't think that Bryce Mitchell would lash out or say some crazy thing on their podcast, but at least let the man have his say. Like, this is one of the things where I don't I don't like this. I don't like that they're just kind of censoring him here because what was the point? What was the point of bringing him here then? If they wouldn't have that conversation, right? Because like I said in the last video, the best thing you could do with someone like Bryce Mitchell that thinks the way that he thinks is to just sit down and try to understand things from his point of view and then go back and forth and have a civil debate about those ideologies, right? It's not censoring somebody. That's how we have, just insane takes from people on the internet, right? I think that the best thing we could do is just hear people out, counter arguments, say why they're wrong, and then go from there. But I just think that like Bear and Jaxxon just cutting it on the bud right there and then was just not the right move, in my honest opinion.
We're not even going to give you a platform to explain yourself on that. I personally just feel with the things that he did and the millions of people that died, there's no justification pre or post whatever you did say. Ain't nobody a good guy. And we as people, and me as a fan of MMA, right? As a fighter, I watch all your fights, right? You bring the Bible in the cage. You did some amazing things before that podcast. Rampage is an icon to me. I look up to Rampage. So when Rampage gets serious, even when he said, listen, man, I got a full-time Jewish chef. And Rampage, the only reason why he was accepting of even doing this podcast, we already had pre-booked you before that show, and we've been trying to get you on for about a year, right? And so Rampage said, I want to be able to see him face to face and explain to him the severity of what he did. So at least if you didn't,
but they don't do that. They're sitting here and they're trying to lecture Bryce Mitchell as if he's a freaking kid. He's a grown ass adult, right? Like I just feel like this is just a weird conversation. Like, they're not talking to him like he's a freaking man. Like, they're trying to like little bro him, and it's a weird vibe in my honest opinion.
You do understand what you did damages people's relationships with their family over arguments, damages society, wasting time on things they shouldn't be talking about. We should be coming together as a world, but we should never justify the persecution and the extremism that we've seen in the past from that man or any sort of that nature, right? So
I totally agree, brother. Yeah. And that's why I wanted to say, I literally said in my podcast, I don't support.
Yeah.
And I'm not a Nazi. And I said that, and I'm glad that you got to let me repeat that.
How long have you had that podcast?
That was my first episode. And here's the thing, guys, is, before he did all of that stuff is what I was talking about, guys.
Yeah, we're not even.
We understand.
I'm not denying anybody's
yeah,
suffering.
why?
Like,
We
I'm
understand
literally
that.
not denying
We
anybody's suffering.
we
But
understand.
you do
And I wish I
know
wouldn't
millions
even-
of people, over 5 million people died because
This is so frustrating to watch, man. Like, just like, I get it. Bryce Mitchell did mess up. Like, I'm not trying to defend him either. I don't think he's trying to make a justification anyway. I think he's trying to come up with like a catalyst as to why he said what he said, and it's a very big difference. There's a nuance to that between like justification and of course a catalyst, but that's a different conversation for a different video. But this is kind of frustrating to watch, man. If I'm just being honest, like, let Bryce Mitchell say what he have to say, and then it's a 2v1, literally. Like, it's a 2v1. Bear and friggin' Rampage Jaxxon could probably come up with some decent arguments as to why Bryce Mitchell is wrong, and go from there, right? But just like completely avoiding the conversation, I just think is so wrong.
of him.
A lot
right?
of people.
One of the
died.
deadly.
Not just because of like Bryce Mitchell's sake, but because there's also people out there that think just like Bryce Mitchell, and they need to hear this. They need to hear why they think the way they think is not good.
Deadliest wars of all time, World War II. Probably over 50 million people, 3 to 5% of
It
the
was the
population died.
deadliest war. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it
you
was the
are aware that
deadliest
even trying to justify that, you got to move past that, brother. Right?
No. Listen,
you can't even.
listen.
like-
We understand. We understand it's your first podcast and stuff like that. And what you got to understand about this business right here, you got to be careful what you say because people will take it out of context and they will clip it.
That's what I believe happened, but I shouldn't have said it in the first
Yeah, you
place.
shouldn't say
Yeah,
it.
you should.
Okay, so I kind of wanted to take the time to really think about what I just heard from Bear and Jaxxon and the entire context of this conversation. And I pretty much summed it up to, I think that Bryce Mitchell does have some extreme, like, train of thoughts, and I do think that his ideologies are pretty extreme. He really did mess up. Like, the entire MMA community let him have it. Even Dana White got on his ass for saying like dumb shit on his first episode of his podcast, pretty much saying that Adolf Hitler was a good guy. But I think that Bear and fucking Rampage Jaxxon are in a very bad spot because they just completely silenced Bryce Mitchell. Instead of giving Bryce Mitchell a chance to explain himself and proving that he's wrong, he's being silenced. And I just feel like this is just a wasted opportunity to get someone like Bryce Mitchell in who thinks similarly to other people and prove to him that he's wrong. Not saying that he is wrong from my personal views, but it would have been good to see, Bear and fucking Rampage Jaxxon go head on and pretty much challenge him on his ideas instead of just freaking silencing him on the podcast, which was a complete freaking waste. Why have him on the podcast if you're not going to challenge him on the ideas that he has, towards Adolf Hitler? I think if someone has extreme ideas, you should definitely have a sit down and have a conversation with him and challenge those ideas head on instead of leaving it all to fucking mystery. I think that this was a wasted fucking opportunity for Bear and for Rampage Jaxxon, and hopefully they learn from this situation because I feel like right now the internet is definitely going to be on their ass for missing this fucking great opportunity to prove someone like the Bryce Mitchell wrong. But anyways, I want to know what you guys think about this down in the comment section below. As always, it was a pleasure. Peace out and have a good one.